Hello CAD students, this is Mr. Erickson again. I'm here with the second part of week 1 assignment 2. In the first part we talked about dimensions, the parts of a dimension, and dimension styles, what dimension styles are. I gave you the basics of that. In this video what we're going to do is actually create our own dimension style from scratch. So in Canvas, if you look in the module section, you'll see module 1, so week 1, chapter 16, dimension standards and styles. There's week 1, assignment 1. Here's week 1, assignment 2. So I click on that. That's what we're working on now. And the instructions are to download the week 1, assignment 2, creating a dimension style PDF. In your week 1 assignment 1 drawing file, create a annotative dimension style using the information in this PDF. Save your drawing file as W1A1 and upload it, your CAD file that you just saved, to Canvas. There'll be video instructions here. I'm in the process of inserting those, so you'll see those when you go in here. Okay, so we will download this first. So I just click on it. It should download for you. Once it downloads, you can click on it and open it up. And the first thing that we're gonna see is that it has the name of the exercise, week 1, assignment 2, creating dimension style. The instructions are in the DWG file that you created in week 1, assignment 1. Create a new dimension style from scratch with the following settings. So we're going to use this to give us the settings that we need for our dimension style. So this kind of walks you through the steps of starting it and how to get it going. I'm going to show you that here in the video, so I'm not going to cover that in this right now, but you'll see in the PDF it has that. Alright, so here's our file. This is the file that we created in week 1, assignment 1. It's the little elevation of a house. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the Annotate tab up here in the ribbon. Click on that, and then in the Dimensions panel, which is the second one from the left, there's a button at the bottom of it. It says Dimensions, and then on the right of that there's a little arrow that points down to the right, and that's the dimension style button. So if you click on that, it'll open up the dimension style manager dialog box. That's what you want to do. You can also type in dim style, that's the command. It'll open up the same dimension style manager dialog box. Right now all we have is one dimension style. It's called standard. We're going to make a brand new one that is an annotative one. So over here on the right, you can see you have some options. You have set current, new, modify, override, and compare. What we want to do is make a brand new one. So we click on the new button. It's going to ask us what is going to be the name of our new style, so you can just call it week 1, assignment 2. Start with a copy of standard, that's fine. What's important in this exercise is that we want it to be annotative. So we want to click on that box right there so that it's going to be annotative. We'll talk about annotative more a bit later in the course, but right now just make sure you check that box. Right, so after that's all done, then I click on the continue button, and that will open up a new dialog box that has a series of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 tabs across the top, and these are all the different elements of a dimension. So on the top we see lines, then symbols and arrows, text. Fit is what does it do when the text doesn't fit between the extension lines. How do you want it to behave? The units, the primary units, and the alternate units. So you can have dimensions that show two types of units at the same time. So you could have the US customary units and metric at the same time. And then tolerances. Tolerances are an important topic, but it's not something that we cover so much in this class because we're focusing on architectural drafting, and architectural drafting, it's not very common that you use tolerances. So we're going to start from the left. We're going to look at the lines. So what we need to do is look at the settings here, compare them what we have in our PDF to make sure that they match. So that's what we're going to do, is go tab by tab and just make sure that they match. So I'm going to grab this here and I'm going to close this so I can I want to snap this so I can have both of them open side by side. So I'm going to snap that there and there. Alright, so I'm going to click on my little dialog box again, click new, W1A2, standard, check annotative, click continue. Alright, so there's my dialog box. So that's kind of what it tells you in these steps here. Alright, so we want to look here and just make sure we compare it. Okay, so we're looking at the lines dialog, the tab first. So all of this is correct. We want this baseline spacing to be 1/2 of an inch. We want all of these are okay. We don't want to suppress any of these extension lines. And then what these are your dimension lines and your extension lines. What line type are they going to be? Right now it's set to by block, which is what you want, and it's just going to give you a solid continuous line. Extend beyond the dim lines, we want to set that to 1/8 of an inch. Offset from origin, that's how far do the extension lines offset from where they are snapped to. That's that gap. That's a really important value. There has to be something in there. It shouldn't be 0. And all of the rest is correct, so we'll leave that. We'll go to the next tab. So let me scroll down on the right. Symbols and arrows. We want our arrowheads to be architectural ticks, if you see here on the right, not arrows. So I'm just going to click on that drop down, go to architectural tick. It's going to change the second one for me, which is fine. On the arrow size, which is this dialog, we want it to be 1/8 of an inch, so we'll click on that, change that, 1/8, and the double quote there. Well, center marks, we'll change it to line. Break size is the same, jog, radius jog dimension, and linear jog dimension. We'll look at some of these actual concepts in the other sections, so we're going to focus on what they are exactly right now. We'll go to the text tab. Just let me scroll down on the right. We want to change this to sans serif annotative. So we want this to be an annotative text style. So we'll open up the drop down and select that. We want our text height to be 1/8 of an inch, which is standard text height for most text on technical drawings is 1/8 of an inch. We want this to be this is the important part now. So we want it to look the way that it looks on here on the right. If you see the text is above the dimension line. In our little picture here, the text is breaking the dimension line. It's in the middle of it. So we want it to be, the vertical placement is to be above. The horizontal is centered, that's fine. View direction left to right, but over here under text alignment, we want it to be aligned, because you can see that all the text here is horizontal, 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 horizontal. In architectural drafting, the text is aligned with the dimension line. So you can see it's rotated, here it's angled, here it's angled along the arc. So in here it's angled along angled along this leader here. So we want to set that to aligned with dimension line. It's important. All right, go to fit. Let's go down to the fit tab. Now again, looking at the settings, everything is correct here. We want to make sure this says annotative because we want it to be annotative. And so what this tab does is telling AutoCAD what to do if there isn't enough room between the extension lines. What do you want to do with the text? Do you want to move it outside the extension lines? Do you want to leave it between the extension lines? This is the default setting. We'll just leave it like that for now. We'll look at that some more later. Go to the primary units. So we are doing architectural drafting, so we need to set our units to architectural. The precision, 1/16 of an inch is fine for architectural. The fraction format is it's right now it's set for horizontal. And we'll leave it like that. Typically you will set it to not stacked. That's more common in architectural, but we'll leave it on horizontal. We'll look at all these. Zero suppression, none of this. We'll uncheck this one that says 0 inches. That's what it does to zeros before and after numbers. And everything else looks fine. We'll set the zero suppression right here to check that box. Okay. And the rest of it we don't need to do anything with. So we click OK. And we click Set Current. And we click Close. So if you look up here in the dimension panel, that shows our dimension style that is currently active. We have 2 in this drawing. Maximize this. In this panel we have the drop down. This shows us our dimension styles that we have in the drawing. We have a standard and a annotative one that shows us that little symbol right there. That means that's annotative, and that's the active one. So that's what we want. That's exactly how we want to have it. So that will be it for this exercise. In the next one we're going to actually dimension the elevation.